Hold up. What? Did we just kick her off? I'm sorry. I'm having, I just kicked my guest off. Like, I gotta send her the invite again. Hey! What happened? All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Welcome to this is Christ Center Mental Health, the ministry where I talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective. This series is His Strength and Weakness, where I interview a dear Christian brother or sister in the Lord about their struggle with mental health and how they deal and how their faith helps them deal with their mental health symptoms. And today's episode, I'm interviewing a dear sister in the Lord named Yolanda. Yolanda, would you briefly tell us a little bit about yourself? What is your mental health, mental illness, and what's your experience with medication?
Well, my experience basically with mental health was pretty much in my 20s or so. Um, I really didn't know too much about it until basically I think maybe when I was 25. And I went through a whole panic attack and had like major anxiety and stuff. And I didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I went to the hospital, and that's when they told me that I was having a panic attack. And pretty much that's when they told me that I needed to seek professional help. And that's when I pretty much found out that I had it was bipolar depression and
Um,
PTSD and things dealing with as far as what do you call it? Like when you get really like real bad anxiety and stuff. I forgot the medical terms for certain things, but those were pretty
yeah,
much the gist of what I found out the blow of what was going on with me really.
yeah, that makes sense. For those people that aren't familiar with mental illness, can you like explain exactly, in your own words, can you explain what bipolar depression means?
Well, it's like from my understanding, pretty much it's from like 1 minute I can be okay and then happy and fine. And then the next minute I can be like either angry, real sad and depressed, or agitated real bad and don't know why. I mean, anything can trigger it, certain things can trigger it, and it can happen like anytime.
Okay.
So it's not like a pinpoint of exactly when it happens. Kind of, it's just like 1 minute you're up, 1 minute you're down, and then 1 minute you're angry, and 1 minute you're happy, or it just comes and
Yeah,
goes. Sometimes some things
yeah,
can trigger it.
that makes sense. And what is your experience with medication?
Well, with medication, I when I first got diagnosed and stuff, I um, I was taking I think it's called clozapam and things like that, and
Um,
it was kind of a touch and go. I'm
yeah,
the type of person who don't like taking medications like that.
yeah,
I don't like taking things except maybe Tylenol or ibuprofen.
yeah,
Other than that, I don't like taking medications for certain things. Like I see those commercials, and then you hear all those side effects, and it's like, what? No.
yeah.
So it took me a minute before I actually started taking the medication, and they really started me on a very low dosage medication because of the anxiety I had for taking the medicine. Um,
Yeah.
So when I started with that, it was pretty much okay. And then I think recently, 2018 was when I stopped taking the medication pretty much.
Oh, really? So you're not on any medication now?
As of now, I'm not, no.
Oh, wow.
And I'm claiming right now in the future I'm not going to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. How does that like that? That leads me to another question. Like, how does that like not being on medication? How does that affect like or how does it affect or not affect your bipolar symptoms?
Well, with bipolar depression and actually, I could tell the difference with me not being on the medication for so long. The headaches I started to get real bad, and I still refuse to take the medicine.
Yeah,
But with me not taking medicine and stuff, I used to think that, well, is this the right thing or the wrong thing for me to do? Or can I beat this? But the
yeah.
problem that I had with the bipolar depression and everything that was with it was when I stopped taking the medicine, I stopped going to therapy as well. You know,
Uh,
I kind of figured that I can handle these things on my own. You know,
mm,
and, because I'm a woman of God, it was like, God got me. I'm good. I don't have to, I'll just pray about it and it is what it is. And,
mm,
being a mother and a woman, and at the time a single mother, it was like, we take on this character, we have to be strong, you know, can't let people see what's going on in the inside. I'm not going to talk about my problems. I'm not going to work this through. I'm going to suck it up, keep going. There's nothing wrong with me. Cry it out and let it go, not realizing that that actually did more damage, because recently, in October, like I said, when I told you before, that a very close family member of mine had passed away.
I'm sorry
And
to hear that.
thank you. When he passed away, it brought out a lot of different emotions that I didn't know that I had, that necessarily wasn't just for the fact of grieving, but the fact of
Yeah,
dealing with life in general.
yeah,
And so that brought out a whole bunch of emotions. And that's when my husband, um, said I need to seek help, because I would cry, I would be upset, I didn't want to go to work. I
yeah,
snapped on somebody
yeah,
at the gas station, and that's not me.
yeah.
It takes for me to
Well,
to go that
you were obviously going through a tough time, so that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was, and but it's like in my family, I've always been the person to try to like hold it together and the
yeah.
peacemaker.
So
And
you're
so
kind of
it
like
was like
you're kind of like the rock in your family.
yeah, so it's like when I go
Mhm.
off about something as simple as a receipt, you know,
Oh,
that's when it's a problem,
yeah.
and then it was like the arguments that I would have with my husband, or, the extreme level of arguments that I would have with my kids.
Hmm.
And, just the thoughts in general that's in my own subconscious mind that was not safe and okay.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized that I needed to seek help, you know. And I actually, like, now I do therapy now, and
Well, that's good.
once a week I do therapy. As
That's
far as the
good.
medication now, I've talked to her about my feelings towards medication or whatnot, and as of right now, it's just the point of working out the process of communicating and talking,
Yeah.
and opening up old wounds and being able to cry and heal it out. So I don't need medication.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, I mean, as long as you're able to manage your symptoms, and I mean, like
Hmm.
like medication is really for if you can't manage your symptoms, if you can't manage your illness. But if you're managing it, and I mean, it's good that you're going through therapy. That's awesome. Like that's really good.
Right. I feel like and another thing about medication too, I feel like to if you can't, and that's the main thing about it with medication is one thing that my husband said, and not only that, like he said it to me, and then when I went into the therapy, she said it to me. It's better to get help now before you're made to get help and have to take
Yeah,
medication.
that's true.
There's, huh?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of
Yeah,
people don't. A lot of people don't understand that. They think that they could just hold off until they get to the point where they have to get medication because they spiraled out of control and they ended up in the psychiatric ward and things just got really bad for them. And then it's by then it's like too late. Like so, I give you
right.
props for knowing that you need to go through therapy and get the help that you need now. Like that's admirable. Um, what? When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed. Mm, I had two different diagnoses because with me going back to therapy, I had another diagnose that was done, and the one I had before with the bipolar depression and PTSD was in 2000, I think 2013, I
Yeah.
believe. Um, and with it being in 2013, that's when I went through a whole bunch of stuff personally, especially with my kids. And at the time, I
Mm.
wasn't married or anything like that. But now, recently, like in October, when I decided to get help and stuff, I was diagnosed with manic depression
Hmm.
and PTSD. And
Yeah.
it was something else she said, but I don't know what the term. I mean, I can't even pronounce it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it is pretty common to have like multiple I know for me personally, I've been diagnosed with like on three separate occasions with three different like I was first diagnosed with depression, and then later on in life I was diagnosed with bipolar, and then now I'm diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. So I think that it takes a long time for a psychiatrist to actually figure out like a proper diagnosis for someone. Like,
Right. That's exactly true. And not only that, it's like the fact of people go through stages in their lives. So
yeah,
it's like some people have a harder, I don't want to say worst case diagnosis, but some people have been through a lot. Some people go through, the chemical imbalance of things or whatnot,
yeah,
and some people where it's a little lighter for them, and
yeah,
it's a little easier for them to cope and work with. And you have to dealing with that as well as the normal stress in everyday life, you know,
yeah,
that's put on top of that. That's a whole nother topic,
yeah,
So
exactly.
it makes it a little harder for people to, work through those process. Anything can happen, like even with, the fact of COVID, dealing with COVID for 2 years and stuff like that. Someone who was just, regular, just having the normal anxiety, or now it's into the point where now they're afraid every day, all day, because of
Yeah,
certain things. So it just depends on the situations in life that happen. And the main thing that most people don't understand, that it's okay to get help, it's
exactly.
okay
Yeah,
to talk to someone to get help before it becomes something extreme, before it becomes
exactly.
to that point where you're made to get help.
Yes, it's great that you say that because I feel like in our culture, like seeking help is seen as a sign of weakness. Like people think you're weak if you seek help, but I believe it actually takes like an incredible amount of strength to admit that you need help. Like this,
Hmm.
I like that you
Yeah,
said.
it does.
Like,
Mhm.
how did you react when you were diagnosed, and how did your friends and family react too?
Well, um, how did I react? Basically, like, what you said with culture, it's like being an African American woman, that's one. And then not only that, being a single mother at that, that's two. Then, the perception that everybody has that, we're supposed to be strong, and then not only that, but the same thing you deal with at home when you were younger. You don't speak about what goes on in the house, you don't speak about your personal feelings, pretty much,
Mm,
things like that. So when I found out that I was actually diagnosed and stuff, it actually put another weight on me, pretty much, because
yeah.
now it's like I want to be free. I want to be able to not feel this way, but I don't want nobody to know, And then I'm supposed to be strong. These things are not supposed to be happening to me, because I'm a mother. But at the same
Mm,
time, I was forgetting the fact that I'm a woman and I'm a human being. So
yeah.
it was like dealing with that was an extra, that was just like another weight on my chest.
Makes sense.
And one of the things that my actual therapist has said to me was, as far as the things that have happened, and the weight that we carry and trying to be so strong, is, what about you? What
Yeah.
about you? Who's strong for you? And then why are you trying to be strong for everything? And it's like, it's okay to be weak and vulnerable, and that's one of the things that we don't realize, especially dealing with faith. God said that if when we're weak, he'll make us strong. So
Amen.
it's like those,
Yes.
yeah, those situations that we have and things that we deal with, he wants those things. But we
Yes.
have a habit of taking it on ourselves, which is really not benefiting us at all. It's actually making it worse for us.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. It reminds me of you what you just said reminded me of in I think it's in First Corinthians where it talks about God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise, and God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the things that are despised to shame the things that are accepted. Like it just reminded me of that passage. And, like it's like the world doesn't understand that like that God is glorified when we're weak and we're trusting in His strength. Like yeah.
Right.
Oh, how did your friends and family react?
Well, my my dad pretty much, he makes a joke out of a lot of things, but my dad was a very he was a stern man.
Yeah.
And he's from the old school, and being in the African American culture, we really don't talk about our feelings too much. We really
Yeah.
don't go seek help or counseling or therapy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's like that thing I said before, as what goes on in my house, stay in my house.
Hmm.
So my dad really didn't have too much to say about it. I don't even think my dad even remembers. Or if I did, I tell my dad. I think I might have touched on the subject with my dad, and he was more so, "Oh, so you crazy?" That's the kind of man he is,
Yeah.
and that was the end of it. My mom was pretty much, and my mom and dad are divorced, but my mom pretty much was like, good for you, and remember, God, loves you, and God is always there. All you need is God. My mom is a very spiritual woman.
Yeah.
um and my kids and them, they were pretty much, especially like now at this moment, with me explaining to them that I'm going back into therapy because I need help. I told each one of them, and they were like, okay, are you okay? Because there were moments before I
Yeah.
decided to go into therapy that they would actually ask, are you okay? you know and it was like they can see it on me, but wouldn't say
Yeah.
too much. But are you okay? Is something wrong? And I couldn't explain it to them. I couldn't tell
Yeah.
them, number one, mother says is, I'm okay, I'm fine. Are you okay? How was school, or, how was work, or anything like that. But they pretty much are more understanding of my reactions to things. And I would say they have a more open ear to what's going
Yeah,
on with.
that's good. I'm glad that your kids are more understanding and like yeah, that's good. I can identify with you about because like in Asian cultures, like we don't talk. We Asians typically don't talk about their feelings with each other either, and it's so that what you said about that about how in African American families you guys don't do that either. That resonated with me. Um, uh, the next question is, how do you? Oh, when did you come to know the Lord, and how did you come to know the Lord?
Oh, that's that's an interesting topic. I would say because basically, here's the funny thing. I was raised as a Jehovah Witness.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I was raised as a Jehovah Witness. I considered myself, I used to consider myself, I'm gonna say that because some things I'm still working through, and it's
Yeah,
life, powers in the tongue. So when you speak over things and you keep speaking the same way, nothing's gonna change if you keep speaking that way. So
yeah,
I used to be the black sheep of the family,
yeah.
and by that being said, I used to, when I stopped being, well, when I pretty much I ran away from my dad, and he was more so the one who he's a Jehovah's Witness. My mom wasn't, and they got divorced. She
I'm
wasn't
sorry to hear
anymore.
that.
No, it's fine. Something's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
um, but she wasn't, and he was, and I ran away, and I went to live with her. And when I left and came out of that culture, I kind of went wild. I believed anything anybody said, and all that stuff. But I still had like the foundation of Christ and God and things like
yeah,
that. So I pretty much was like drawn to church in a way while I was out there, but at the same time
yeah,
I was scared of it because being raised as a Jehovah Witness is like pretty much you're gonna pretty much go to, like, you're gonna die or not be resurrected or anything like that if you go to a church and da 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 da. Like it was just like
yeah.
church was the baddest thing in the world, pretty much.
Yeah,
So what I did
they
one day, I
probably
think I
called you an
was, huh?
apostate. They probably called you an apostate.
Not apostate. It wasn't apostate. It was because with Jehovah, I wasn't baptized. Um, I,
Um.
I was raised in it. I just didn't take that next level,
Okay.
that baptism, because it was like if you got baptized as a Jehovah Witness, if you did anything that was considered wrong or bad and things like that, you had got shunned pretty much. I forgot the correct word for it. It's basically like a disaffiliation and stuff like that, and that stuff plays with people's mind too, because it's like you get shunned, and even it doesn't matter how many times you done something wrong or whatever. And I asked my aunt about that before, like how many times you have to make a mistake before you get shunned. And then, they say, well, they got a few chances and then they get shunned. I'm like, it still doesn't make sense to me. But the
Yeah.
person, because I've been in situations where I've seen the person be shunned for whatever act it was that they did, and I had to literally not talk to them.
Wow.
And it was like they're sitting right there, that it could be my best friend or my aunt or a family member
Mm.
or a close person you're with, and they're standing there, and it's like you could not talk to them. You
Wow.
couldn't talk to them, you couldn't speak to them. The only people who could speak to them were the elders. And to
Mm.
me, growing up as a kid, these are people, this is what I was raised up on, and it was a word, but at the same time, it was like I felt like the word so much more than what they're putting it to. And it's like God is not. like that.
Mm.
And to me, that put a very big damper on my heart to find out what church was about, what Christianity was
Yeah.
about, because it was like, how can people mess up and still go back and people still receive them with open arms? At certain churches, people still, show them love and did it no matter what they did. So I wanted to, that kind of planted the seed in my heart pretty much, because I had a
Yeah.
battle between going back to being Jehovah's Witness or staying with Christianity and going to church and things like that.
Mm.
And what actually did it for me, I would say, was back in, because I was back and forth for a little minute.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
at Kingdom Hall one minute because of my family, and then the next minute I go out in the streets and, party, drink and stuff, and then like go to church and, feel bad and stuff, and then I go back to the streets and, party, da 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 da, and then had kids and stuff. But when I finally decided to make a decision and be wholehearted committed, I believe that was like in 2000. I think it was like 2013 or
Oh.
2000. I think about 2000, no, 14. About 14, 15 was when I actually decided, because that's when I was
Uh-huh.
having a hard time deciding what to do. And I remember praying about it because I was like, God, if you want me to go and be a Christian and go to church, then I will do that because that's what you want me to do. If this is the real thing, that's the way I would go. But if you want me to continue to, be a Jehovah's Witness, I will do that, because now my mindset is I have kids who are under me, and I
Yeah.
want them to be raised the right way. I want them to know the right thing to do, you know.
Mm.
And so when I went to the church. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'll explain it. I went to the church and I prayed, and the word that I got there was so heavy on my heart. It felt so good, but it was like a good heavy feeling. And I said, you know what? If this is where you want me to be, I'm gonna keep going. So I went again. The second time I went, I started to get real bad headaches, and then the third time I went, I prayed and I said, Lord, if I have a headache again coming to this place, then I'm gonna take it as you don't, do this. This is not the
Mm.
place for me. And so what ended up happening, I went and didn't have a headache no more for
Wow.
for a couple of days. I didn't have no headache anymore. And before then, I was having real bad headaches. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like them soft migraine headaches, not the ones that keep you in the bed, but like the ones that don't know whether it wants to be a headache or
Oh,
or what.
yeah.
But yeah, those would be like just any kind of sound.
Yeah.
But
I think I know what you're
and
talking
at that
about.
time, I didn't know I was having bad migraines either. But what ended up happening is we not having headaches anymore, and I continued to go. And then I
Mm.
continue to get more word, and I continue to get more, and then I continue, and some of the stuff I already knew. I was up on it. But it was a different feeling. It was a
Mm.
whole completely different feeling, a completely different understanding, to the point where I think it was 2016. Yep, 2016, when I actually converted and was like, you know what, I'm not going to go back and forth no more. I choose
Yeah.
to be in Christianity. I choose to go to a church and stuff. And what made me truly decide that was one of my friends was shunned, and it was like we couldn't speak to her.
Oh
And I
man.
had went to the church, to the Kingdom Hall. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses call it, a Kingdom Hall. And I
Yeah.
think I was just visiting, and it was like nobody to talk to her. And I
Wow.
went and I talked to her. And she was an old school friend of mine. Like, I grew up knowing her. And I
Yeah.
talked to her. So, how are you doing? Just how are you doing? What's going on in your life? I
Yeah.
don't like when people make people feel a certain way by the choices that they made. We already
Yeah.
beat ourselves up for what choices we made. And what right do you have to do that to anybody else? You know, because when judgment day come, I'm not going to be standing there next to you trying to explain what you did right and wrong. No one's going to stand next to me, between me and
Yeah.
God. That's why our relationship for each person is personal. So my battle with, Christianity and what I was raised in, it was a long battle. Like that, I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of my, my
Yeah,
depression and all that kind of stuff. So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of times Christians can be so, well, like can be so divisive, and like it really like just it's very disheartening how much Christians backbite each other, and like I say this a lot, and like Jesus didn't say, well, Jesus said that the world will know that you are my disciples by your love for one another. He didn't say by your doctrinal purity or by how you live your life or this, that, or the other. He said by your love for one another. And I feel like a lot of Christians just ignore that scripture. Like, but yeah, it's
right.
but yeah. How has your
Yeah, a lot
faith?
of people
Oh,
ignore that fact.
yeah, they do. How has your faith helped you in dealing with your mental illness?
Well, it helped me a lot because it's like I have faith in knowing that it's gonna come to an end. I have faith
Yeah,
in knowing that whether I continue to have this or whatever, if it get better or if it get worse or whatnot, it's a purpose. You know,
mm,
it's a purpose, and to
yeah,
me, it's like I literally wholeheartedly believe in that scripture where it says that he knew us before we were even formed in our mother's womb. He already knew, and that
yeah,
he knows the plans for our lives. So to me, it's like he already got it worked out. I just got to have faith and trust in him. You know,
amen to
I got to
that.
have faith and just do my part and do the work. You
Yes,
know, and the work is really simple because if we are truly in his peace and we truly have faith and trust him, he gives us peace surpass all understanding. So whatever
amen.
we're going through, we'll be okay with it. And that's the
Yes,
part that we forget. You
yeah. We do tend to forget that. Like you're right. Like I mean, the scripture does say that when we trust in Him, God will give us the peace of Christ that transcends all understanding. And a lot of like I mean, I understand. Sometimes it is hard to trust God, and but we just like you said, we just have to continue trusting Him. Like we have to trust God over our feelings. Like however we're feeling in the moment, we have to
know?
decide to trust God instead. Like um
Yeah. That's the thing that like my pastor with the church I go to now, one of the things that, it's funny because that's the main thing we talked about last Sunday was peace.
oh
And
yeah,
a lot of times, it's hard for us because we stay stuck, looking at the situation rather
mm,
than remembering what God says about the situation, you know.
yes,
And that's why he said to, renew our minds daily. So if we continue to put the
exactly,
word in us, then we can, speak those things as though they are, and go ahead and
exactly,
quote scriptures. We can go ahead and remember what God said because he didn't already gave us a promise. He didn't already gave us the
yes,
tools to have a satisfying life here on earth.
mhm,
And so that's one of the things that just fascinates me is that I have to get to that point where, because there are hard days. I'm not, don't mistaken that people won't have hard days because I have hard days. There are
yeah,
hard days, there are hard times. Like in those hard moments, those are the moments that we need to go to God the most,
yes,
and not
yes.
try to carry it on our own.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like the last person I interviewed for this show. She was talking about what did she say? She says she was talking to a friend who said they were talking. A friend of hers was talking to an atheist, and the atheist said, "Oh, you Christians just use God as a crutch," and she was like, well, God is my crutch because I'm weak, and and it's just it's that's exactly what we were just talking about earlier. Like there is strength when we admit that we're weak. Like a lot of people in the world don't understand
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, all right, you're gonna love this question. Do you think that taking medication displays a lack of trust in God? Why or why not?
I don't think it's a lack of trust in God if you take your medicine. And I say that because, and here's the thing, that way though. I used to think that, oh, if you take medicine you don't trust God. And not only that, I used, like I said before, afraid of taking medication, especially
Yeah.
serious medication. And one thing that changed my mind about it, and I haven't even told my husband about it, but my husband had medication that he was taking, and it was real serious medication that he was taking. And I believe it was for schizophrenia or something, or
Oh,
it was a serious medication.
yeah.
And that's what he was going through. And he just stopped taking it. Now, I'm gonna say this right now, just in case anybody watches and
Yeah.
has to take severe medication. I am not telling people to stop taking their medication and just stop and say God's gonna do it all. I'm not telling people that. I'm saying the fact of, just because you take medication does not mean that you do not trust God. That means you are still doing your part, as well as waiting on God to change something,
Yes.
and as well as having faith and believing that this will change. And you never know, some people are on a medication for the rest of their life and they live a life full wholeheartedly to God and is okay
Amen.
and fine. It's just, it's each person is different. Each person is different, just like each person's walk with God is different. And I say that
Yes.
because with my husband, he stopped taking his, and I thought he was crazy for not taking his medicine. I was like, lose it. This is about to happen. And, da, 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 da. And his, if I trust God, why don't I take? Why am I taking this medicine?
Yeah.
And it was more so of, babe, work the process. And to me, it's like faith and trust in God. It goes hand in hand in doing your part as well. That's like somebody saying,
Yes.
"Oh, I believe God that I can walk across this highway and everything's gonna be fine." No, no, because He also said not to be foolish either. Like that doesn't make sense for you to just do that. These things
Yeah.
cause your body to do this. If you don't have this, your body's going to do this. Your mind is going to do this. You know, so
Yes.
take the medication. Keep reading, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and keep walking, and still trusting in God, because you never know what will happen in the future. You know.
Yes. That's true. That's very true. Like I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. Like it's definitely like I feel like a lot of Christians that say that, oh, if you take medication because you don't trust God, I think that's a really foolish argument to make, because it's like these same Christians, if they get a headache, I guarantee you they're gonna want to take an aspirin, or if they break their foot, they're gonna want to go
Exactly.
see a doctor. Like, so it's just like if you need to take psychiatric medication, then like I believe honestly that God blesses people with mental illness with psychiatric medication. So um
I honestly believe that too, because it's like you have pilots for a reason. You know, God,
yeah,
whatever is going on, God is allowing to happen right now. Whatever,
exactly,
whatever doctrine you get, you've been blessed to be able to know how
yes,
to fly a plane.
exactly. um What is something you wish other Christians understood about mental illness?
You said what?
What is something you wish other Christians understood about mental illness?
That it's okay. It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah,
It's okay not okay. And it could be a lot easier to accept what's going on with you personally if you talk to God. And if you
yeah,
truly give it to God, and that it's okay to talk to somebody, it's okay to seek professional help. Nothing wrong with it at all.
yes, it's true. What has dealing with your mental illness taught you about God?
And it's taught me to trust in Him more. It's taught me that I cannot handle things on my own. I cannot bear the burden. I'm not supposed to bear this burden because this is what it's doing to me. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not equipped to handle all of that. That's why God said to give it to Him.
yes, amen to that. That's true. It's like we're supposed to like just trust God completely. Like I mean, like what was that in Proverbs? It
Yeah.
says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Like,
Right.
um,
Exactly.
have you ever been hurt by fellow believers who didn't understand your illness?
I wouldn't say actually I have not had that experience of being hurt by a believer because of what I've gone through as far as with my mental illness, with depression and all that. I've been hurt in different ways
Uh,
by believers. But with that being said, I feel like, people don't understand that, believers, people too. People in church are people too. They're human too, you know. And yes, it could hurt. Yes, it could bother you what they say or, and things like that. But don't let it get you to that point where you don't keep going. Don't let it get you to
exactly.
that point where you change your faith or be stuck.
Yeah,
Because people too. From the
yeah,
top, from the head, from bishop, pastors, teachers, ministers, deacons, whoever hold a leadership title or anything, they are human too,
that's
you
true.
know.
That's very true. I'm glad that you said that because a lot of people tend to elevate their pastor or deacon or elder to a level that they shouldn't elevate them to, and so I'm glad that you pointed that out. Like, um, how? So I know you said you haven't been hurt because of your illness, but for like, what would you suggest that the church do to keep themselves from hurting someone who has mental illness?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. It was real hard to hear. I'm sorry. I don't
Oh,
know if you
no,
can
it's
see me
okay.
more close.
What would you suggest that the church, like, how can the church avoid hurting people with mental illness?
How can they just make sure I know? How can they avoid from hurting people?
With mental illness, yes.
Um, Being more Christ-like,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Yeah,
That's the main thing, being more Christ-like, understanding and helping and stuff.
yeah,
That would work a lot. Pretty much being understanding, that these are God's people, just like you are God's. You are God's. You are God's person. Understand that they are God's people too. And that you have a basically a job that He gave you, especially in leadership.
Yeah.
Talking about people in leadership, you have a job to, lead, his flock, his people,
Yes.
you know, and understanding that this flock and these people are just like you are human, and they
Yes.
may need a little more extra care, or they
Yeah.
may need a little more extra attention,
Yeah.
and being understanding with that. And not only that, but the people who sit in the pews and church people, to understand that just because this person has a mental illness does not mean that they are not a person,
Yes.
does not mean that they are
Exactly.
not a
Yes.
child of God, you
Yes.
know does not mean that God doesn't have a purpose for them. Maybe
Mhm.
the fact that that person with the mental illness is there is to teach you humble, teach you how to be humble, to teach you
Mm.
how to work with people who have mental illness that come to the church, because every door is supposed to be open. The
Yeah.
doors are supposed to be open, and you're supposed to receive everyone. God didn't say, okay, receive only these kinds who, walk right, talk right. He said
Yeah.
for everyone,
Mm.
you know.
It's
And if
true.
people can learn that and be more Christ like, not Christ, but be more Christ like, a lot
Yes.
of things would change.
That's true. You're absolutely right. Like what you just said. Like reminded me of like I mean Jesus. Like I mean Jesus walked with the people who like Jesus reserves his most harshest words for religious people, people that did seem like they had it all put together and that looked down on people. And he hung out with people like that were basically mentally ill or outcasts or downtrodden and those were the types of people that Jesus chose to hang out with. And like you said, we need to have the same kind of mindset. We need to be more accepting of people. Yeah. Um.
Hmm.
What do you think is the cause of mental illness?
Um, Honestly, my honest opinion about the cause of mental illness is it goes all the way back to the beginning, Adam and Eve, when they messed up. You
Yeah.
know, when things went, the wrong way, pretty much.
Yeah.
And and the Bible says that wages of sin is death. And then, I'm sorry,
That's
for
okay.
then this time.
What?
I'm sorry, that was my grandson.
No, it's
He
okay.
was having a fit. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's all right. It's all right.
It's he basically the whole concept of, you know, in the beginning, Adam and Eve, and then, everything was perfect then.
Yeah.
So then I feel like when everything that's why we have the problems we have. That's why, certain people mix with certain people, the discord amongst each other and all that kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
the stuff in the Bible, how things have happened, God didn't
Yeah.
say that he will get us over the storm. He said he would get us through the storm, you know. So
Yes.
it's like even with mental illness, it's the same thing, you know. It's the same thing, and nothing's really gonna change until, when that time comes. Then everybody
Yeah.
be perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. That's our
Won't be
hope.
no more sickness, no more crying, no more illness, no more
Exactly.
people dying, anything like that. So
Exactly. Yes. I actually can't wait till that day. like um
yeah, I can't either. I'm ready because I'll be 39 in December the 15th. I'll be 39, and it's like my
oh
body cracking.
yeah. Yeah. Well, happy birthday by the
But at
way.
the same time, I gotta take care of my health and my body. I can't
Yeah,
expect God to do it all right now.
yeah,
He's
that's
like,
true.
"What are you eating? You want a healthier body, but what are you eating?"
Yeah, that's true. Um do you think that there is a purpose behind mental illness?
Behind mental illness, I feel like honestly, and everything
Yeah.
like cause and effect. I feel like it's a purpose in everything, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be talking to you about my mental state or what I went through dealing with. It's not major as some people's are, but it's major to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you, explaining it. Certain people with mental illness and stuff, I feel like it's a purpose, because if it wasn't for that, you would not be talking about it. If
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't for that, you wouldn't be helping else. And I believe that everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
Everything has a purpose. You go through things for a reason, whether it's a lesson to learn or whether it's something you cause yourself. Because some people have mental illness because of drug addiction, or
Yeah.
alcoholism and things like that. Those are choices. Of those choices you made, this is the outcome of it. But God gave you grace and mercy and sustained to where you're still breathing today. You know,
Exactly. Yeah. That reminds me of one of my favorite verses, Romans 8:28, where it says, "We know that all things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to His purpose." And it says all things. That means
exactly,
good things and bad things work together for our good. It just, yeah,
yep, exactly. That just blows my mind, because that's how great God is, that all things
exactly.
work together. All things. The choices you made that led you to this problem, the choices that your parents made, and that kind of feeded that that you was environment that you grew up in. All these choices and all these things that happen work together for his good. That's
Yeah,
amazing to me,
it is
because
amazing. It is.
he'll use the good and the bad.
Yeah, exactly. We serve an amazing God. Um, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, you froze for a second. What's your thoughts on Christian counseling versus secular counseling?
I think secular counseling is more so they don't emphasize on God, or faith and things like that.
Yeah,
But I feel like they deal with the root of the issue too. So to me, that's the only difference between it. And
yeah,
I feel like if you can get help with secular counseling, then do so. But keep God with you. Because out of
yeah,
everything you do, you're supposed to put God at the center. So that's one of the things that I strongly suggest. Whatever decision you make with count therapy or anything, that
yeah.
even if that person does not want to talk about God, they still have to listen, because
Exactly.
they're your
Yeah,
counselor. They're
yeah, yeah.
So they still have
That's
to
true.
listen to the situation, and their job is to kind of take these puzzle pieces that you got and put them together.
Exactly.
And if you say you're a spiritual person or a person of God and things like that, and you have this conversation with them, then yeah, and you never know, that person may come to God just because you're talking about God and your faith and your belief with everything.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I mean,
Like you could be the one that you could
I mean,
you
I
you
didn't have
could
my therapist. She knew off the gate because of how I talked that I was a woman of God.
yeah,
And she used that to guide me. And I don't
yeah,
know if she go to church. I don't know. I feel like she's a woman of faith. But
yeah,
with her profession and things like that, certain people can get in trouble with that.
yeah. You can't talk about
And
it.
it's like,
Yeah,
it's like she guided me to look at certain things that one thing she did say, you are a woman of God, and with you being a woman of God, try to get more into church community things, and to do
mhm.
this and do
So
this
she actually
you know
encouraged that.
yeah, she encouraged a
Oh
lot of things. She encouraged a lot of things um for me or whatnot,
That's
especially
awesome.
with that walk. And I don't know if I honestly don't know if she go to church or anything, or because some people change faith and say spiritual,
Yeah,
or I'm just a spiritual person. Okay, so you know, and it's like she's very kind, and she's a
mhm.
very kind and cool person to me,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
understanding. That's the main thing I feel like people should look for. It's not
Yeah,
whether, if you want to go to somebody who has fine, good if it works that way for you. But
yeah,
whichever way you go, just make sure that that person is truly a therapist and wanting to help people. Because you
yes,
can tell when someone truly wants to help and when somebody just wants to get the money and get you out in an hour. You
yeah.
know, that's the most
I
important
do,
part.
I have realized that in recent years, a lot of therapists and psychologists and have they have seen the benefits of being having faith. Like, well, obviously they don't see, like, when they talk about someone having faith, they don't mean it the same way as you and I mean it. But even they admit that having faith is beneficial to mental illness. They just don't acknowledge who we're supposed to have faith in. Like,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Right.
um,
They don't acknowledge what we're supposed to have. Their job, honestly, what people don't understand, and I had to learn this when I first did therapy and counseling and stuff, because I was like I said, I didn't want to go.
yeah,
I didn't want to go. And I actually, the first person I ever talked to, I had an attitude with. And I'm the
oh,
type of person, if I'm going to talk to you about whatever I'm going through, what I'm dealing with, whatever issues I'm having, then you better have a solution for it.
yeah,
You better have a guaranteed solution to get me out of this feeling that I'm feeling.
yeah,
And I don't, I never liked doing that. And so I practically went off on the first therapist counselor I ever had in my life.
oh wow,
And what I learned, and I'll never forget what she told me, even after I fussed her out, she told me, my job is not to fix your problems. My job is not to fix it. My job is to help you through it. My
yeah,
job is to take all these puzzle pieces that you have, all these thoughts that you have racing in your head, and slow them down for you on paper, and
yeah,
then come to you and let you put the pieces together.
yeah. That's
And I
that.
never forgot I never forgot her explaining that. Like,
Yeah,
their job is not to fix us. Their job is to help us. And we have to realize
exactly,
that they are human too.
exactly. That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. Um, what kind of things are you wait? Oh, what kind of things do you love to do to help you cope with your mental illness symptoms?
Honestly, I like watching Korean dramas.
Yeah, my wife actually
Korean
watches
dramas,
dramas
it's
too.
a dangerous thing for me. It's a dangerous thing for me. At the same time, it's a feel good thing for me,
Yeah,
because sometimes it's my escape from
yeah.
reality, and I have to be careful with that, because when I went through the darkest part of my depression that I had, I literally stayed in my house for 3 months. I just made
Oh
sure that my
wow.
kids had food that they can put in the microwave, and made sure that they got out for school, and that was it. I
Yeah,
stayed in the bed 24/7. Like, I didn't do nothing. Like, it was a very dark time, to where my cousins
yeah,
and them had to come in the house and pretty much force me to go outside
yeah,
to do
yeah,
something, you know.
yeah.
Um so that's why I said it could be touchy, because sometimes if I'm watching too many dramas for a couple of days, my kids will be like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
And I'm like, "No, no, I
yeah,
just really like this drama."
yeah.
But
That's it.
I like that, and I bake. I bake, and
Okay.
singing. I love praise and worship. I
Yeah,
have such a passion for praise and worship.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. Like I like to sing, but I can't carry a tune at all. But I do like to sing too. But
That's
yeah,
okay. You can clap your hands.
that's true. Well, I'm not. I'm not. I'm rhythmically challenged too. But
That's okay. Any kind of sound, as long as
that's
you giving
true.
it to God. Hey God, here's my worship. Ah, ah, ah.
Yeah. Actually,
He said,
my
"I be
wife,
with it."
my wife is the one that is musically talented. Like between the two of us, she's the one that has the talent with that when it comes to music. But so I just have two more questions. The
Okay.
other question, I just wanted to know, like you, I mean, you talk a lot about like your struggle with depression. And this is something I've touched on my channel a few times already about because like I don't know if, like if you know this, but I've been really attacking this movement called Nuthetic counseling, or now it's called biblical counseling. And one of the things I attack them on is they don't know the difference between depression and sadness. They talk as if they're the same. And I keep on saying depression and sadness are not the same thing. And I'm just wondering, in your own words, like how would you describe the difference between depression and sadness?
Depression and sad. I feel like sadness is a normal and it's a regular emotion that anybody goes through.
Yeah,
Anybody can be sad about something. You know, something you see on TV and you get sad for a little bit, and you
yeah,
might cry about the story, or something you hear on the news and you may cry. The difference in it is that you cry a little bit and you can get up and walk away and go about your day,
yeah,
you know, or watch another show or have a conversation about it and you're fine. Depression is when you are stuck in
yeah,
that sadness, when you are just engulfed in it and it consumes you and you can't look at anything joyous anymore. Like
mm,
no matter what you do, it's like this stuck darkness, and you can be smiling on the outside and people will think you are happy. I mean, I'm only speaking, I'm only being transparent right now.
yeah. I appreciate
There are
it.
days I have literally laughed, went out, enjoyed family time and things like that, and was happy and, smiling, come back home and I cry, or I'm just in my bed and just thinking all kinds of dark thoughts,
Yeah,
they really didn't like me, or they really didn't want me, or did I wear this right, or did I do this, or did this. Sad and depression are two completely different things. Depression is something that can have you stuck, you
mm,
know, and to where no matter what anybody does, it's not going to change how you think. It's not going to change how you
yeah,
feel about yourself. It's more than to just being sad. I can
yes,
be sad that, oh man, somebody's cat died. That's sad. That's sad. But a person who actually have a connection with that cat can be going to depression because that was someone that was their pet. That was someone real close to them. You
yeah,
never know. So
yeah,
sad and depression are absolutely two different things.
yeah. And my other question is, what's it like? Well, this kind of like two questions in one. Like, what's it like being a parent with mental illness, and how has your mental illness affected how you raise your kids?
Um, that is it's very hard.
Yeah,
It's very hard being a parent, um, dealing with stuff like that because you want to be the strong pillar for your kids.
mm,
You want to be the mother or the father that your child can lean on, depend on. You want your child to feel like there's nothing wrong with you at
yeah,
all. And when there is something wrong with you, you try to hide it. Like I said with my kids, I tried to hide it, um, to the point where I couldn't hide it no more.
Yeah.
And it's hard raising kids, especially as a single parent, whether you're a male or female. As a single parent, it's hard raising a child or children, because I have seven, five boys and two girls.
Oh wow.
They're Yeah, they're way older now. My
Yeah.
youngest is 15 and my oldest is 23.
Oh wow.
um, yeah, in the process of me with my kids going through what I went through and depression and things like that, I had to cover it up, but at the same time, it was like wanting to scream for help, you know,
Yeah.
but like a muffled scream, because it was like I didn't want people to think that I couldn't take care of them. I didn't want people to think that something was wrong with me, or
Yeah.
things like that. And for me to deal with that fake smile or that fake
Yeah.
I'm okay, so, have enough energy and time to hug them or to kiss them and say, I love you, when you're having a problem loving yourself,
Yeah.
And so a lot of times what we don't understand, and that's why it's so important to get help, because that energy we pass on,
Yes.
those things we pass on to our kids, and say, to where the kids don't want to get help. It's like a generational thing. So that's like, even
Yeah.
with my explain to my kids actually what is going on with me and why I feel the way and what I was diagnosed with, and explaining to them it's okay to get help. That's the
Yeah.
main thing I tell my kids. And it's like, being a parent, you have this responsibility,
Mm.
and at the same time, you have to understand that you are human too. You are a
Yes.
person too. You need care just as much as your children need care. And one thing someone in my family told me, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but someone told me that if you're not okay, how are they going to be okay? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like that energy does pass to your kids, to where your kids feel like I did something wrong. That's why I'm acting today, or that's why mom doesn't want to, come out her room, or she don't
Yeah.
love me, or she don't want to be bothered with me. So it's important to get help as soon as you can, and there's nothing wrong with it. So your kids can understand, so you can be a better and healthier person, going forward.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That's pretty much all my questions. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask me?
Um, Not really. I kind of know a little bit from the conversation we have and the stuff that you post on there. I think it's real
Yeah.
awesome that you are, doing what you're doing, especially putting, some type of light towards it,
Yeah.
especially dealing with mental health. I was very excited to do this. I know we had technical difficulties and stuff, but I was very
Yeah.
excited to do this. I really appreciate being on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here. I really thank you like for your time, and I know this is really difficult for people to talk about because it's really difficult to be vulnerable. So I appreciate you coming on here and talking about your struggles, and like it took a lot of bravery, and that's very admirable. Um so like I do want I have a question for you after we end the stream. So I just want to say for those of you that stuck it through to watch this all the way to the end, I thank you for doing that, and I hope that this the play that the everybody who watches the playback of this, I hope this conversation edifies you and you find this glorifying to God. And if you find that this ministry has any kind of merit, please feel free to donate to this ministry through the Patreon account. I'm gonna post that link in the description box below so you guys can check that out. If you do donate to the ministry, it will give you exclusive content such as a daily devotional on faith and mental illness. And it'll also give you access to a private Discord community for online peer supports, and fellowship with other believers who either have mental illness or who know someone who has mental illness. So there's an added benefit to that too. All right. If you have nothing else to say, I'm just gonna end the stream. Everybody have a good night and God bless. Oh, you want to say one thing real quick? Um, it, is
Yeah.
if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would they? How would you want them to contact you?
Oh, that's a good question. You can contact me on Facebook.
Okay.
My name is actually my name, Yolanda Floyd on Facebook, or Instagram can contact me on Philando. I'm actually uploading some stuff on Facebook on my regular page. I do videos as far as walking through the park and stuff and just talking about God and, talking about stuff that people to change or whatnot, just having a conversation. And I'm gonna start doing more videos of that. And I also have pictures of my cakes and stuff that I do on Instagram. And my Instagram, let me make sure, because I be telling people the wrong thing sometimes. I'm like, oh, I thought it was that, but because my name is Flolando, it's FLOLANDO, and that's
Well,
on Instagram.
if
And
you
you can
want
see
me
my
to, if you want me to, if you send me the link to your Instagram account, I could post that link in the description box below.
Okay, I can do that. I'll do
Yeah.
that.
And also, would you be okay if I posted a link to your Facebook too?
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's
All
fine.
right.
And if anybody have any questions or anything, or anything they want to ask me or talk about, that's fine too. I'm really like an open book because I really want to try to help people. And there's some things
Yeah.
that I'm gonna start doing called our testimonies.
Nice.
Pretty soon I'm going to be doing the works of that for, people who go through struggles and realizing that people are human. Like we're all the same. We go through
Yeah.
the same thing. It might be a different day or a different time, but we all go through the same thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right. Yeah. All right. Everybody have a good night. Stay strong in the Lord, and God bless.